Reporting domestic violence to the police can be a lifesaver, but getting the police involved is not always easy for the victims of domestic violence. In fact, recent studies show that less than half of domestic violence cases were reported to the police. According to a study from the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 2/3 of women surveyed were afraid the police would not believe them or do nothing. More than half of the women said calling the police would make things worse. Some other reasons victims don't report domestic violence include fear of retaliation, nuisance laws that let a landlord evict a victim for calling the police too many times, wanting to protect their privacy, and wanting to protect children. If you call the authorities to report domestic violence, there are some things that will be helpful to remember. First is to remain calm. While you may be upset or angry, trying to answer the police's questions as calmly as possible will help them better understand the situation and do their jobs effectively. Next, be as specific as possible. If you were hit, show where you were hit and how. If you were threatened, explain how you were threatened and tell them if there were any witnesses. Do your best not to minimize the fear you felt. If your abusive partner is present when the police are there, ask to be interviewed separately. Also, let them know of any firearms your partner owns and if you've been threatened or injured with them. You can also ask if their department has a domestic violence unit and how to contact it. You may even want to contact the unit while the officers are present. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, 9 in 10 police departments that serve at least 250,000 people have a full-time domestic violence unit. You should be aware that when police respond to a domestic violence call, they may have arrest policies they have to follow. These can vary from state to state. Some states only have one, while others use a combination of policies. Let's look at some of them. Mandatory arrests. Some states say an officer should make an arrest when there is probable cause domestic violence had occurred. This also includes if someone is in violation of a restraining or protection order. Officer's discretion. This policy leaves it up to the officer as to whether they are going to arrest someone. For this, the officer needs to have reasonable grounds to believe an act of domestic violence has taken place. Pro-arrest. Officers are encouraged to make an arrest when there is probable cause. An arrest is also the preferred response from the officer. And mutual discouraged discretionary. Many states discourage an officer arresting both members of a domestic violence incident. It is left to the officer to evaluate both accusations separately and try to determine who the main aggressor in the situation is. There are other ways to report domestic violence that don't involve calling the authorities. These include contacting the Victim Services Unit or Special Crimes Unit if they exist in your local police department. Contact a domestic violence service to see if they can help make a report. And go to the hospital or police department in person. It's also a good idea to bring a friend or family member with you when you make the report. This can be especially helpful if they have witnessed the abuse and can confirm what you are saying. Another way to get the help you need is to contact the local crisis center or shelter. They may have relationships with law enforcement and can help you get the help you need. After you report domestic violence, the police will begin an investigation. Sometimes this includes arresting the accused on the spot. If you have to move away from the abuser, you can use an address confidentiality program. These programs, which are run individually by states, give you a post office box to use as your address. Mail sent there is then forwarded to your physical address, keeping your address hidden.